was a kid, I mean, I felt that people were looking at me like, okay, I mean, I will just beat you. If after that they lost, they left from the board, they were looking in a very nasty way, or they couldn't really handle it. They didn't have any similar experience. It was kind of understandable. Of course, that time I didn't understand as a kid that's why they're so unhappy. Later on, I think people got to understand that I was talented and I was beating adults and even strong players. And by the time I was 17, 18, I think it was kind of they accepted me as one of the strong players. And after that, I didn't have any problem from this aspect.
Hi, Judit. Here's the first question to you. Can you tell us about your upbringing in family and how it impacted your life and made you what you are?
Well, my life is an interesting, exciting story from all aspects. I started to play chess when I was 5. I grew up with two of my older sisters who played chess already. My parents decided before actually Susan was born that they want to have a very special education for their daughters or their sons, their children. And the idea was that my parents believed that they don't want their kids to go to school and they would like to have them to specialize in something. And Susan was the first one. She eventually decided, or that's how the things went, that she became a chess player. She's 7 years older than I am. And for me, it was already something very natural to become a chess player as well, because both of my sisters played already. And so I was having the pacifier, a chess phone, I guess. And later on, it was somehow very natural that we are a chess family. And that's how I started to grow up.
School was not very important, and that really helped.
Well, in the beginning, it was quite easy in elementary school. Apart from having the chess classes and traveling, it was not very difficult. And then later on, when it started to get more demanding, then also my parents said that they are not asking too much from our studies for school. So we didn't have to spend so much time. We were doing exams yearly basis. So we were focusing very much on the competitions and the chess studies.
Nice. So I want to also ask you that what would be your suggestion for the upbringing for the girls especially in India?
Well, I don't know the circumstances. I think your country is too huge to make a general suggestion, I guess. But I think it very much depends where you come from. I think chess is a game for everybody, whether you're from a better family or your financial needs are not there where you want it to be. But chess is something that can really connect everybody. And what's happening on the chessboard, it's a matter of how much you dedicate your time and you have support and how much you train. But I think the most important thing, if a child likes to play the game, that you have to support them and you have to look for opportunities where they can excel. With trainers, there are a lot of online courses, there are a lot of teaching platforms. You guys are doing a great job, generally speaking, making a lot of information available for parents, for everybody. And I think in India, as far as I understand, there are a lot of things happening regarding chess. So probably you might have chess clubs or enthusiast chess teachers, chess coaches. And if you think about it, and also when he started to play chess, as far as I remember, he said that he was also going and traveling quite a lot to reach out the chess club. So I think it's very clear that as a parent, you always have to, well, you can call it sacrifice, or you can call it that you have to spend a lot of your time and you have to be very creative, how to manage with time, with financial demands, and with many other things, how to combine it in order to get the maximum out of the child's talent. Of course, it's essential that the kid loves the game and has this inner drive, kind of, that whenever, wherever they go, they think about chess, and it really makes them busy all day around, or many times that they are very much engaged when they play at the board, but also just reading a chess book or watching a nice streaming analysis or whatever. So there are a lot of potentials and a lot of options, I think. Now there are much more opportunities for talents also to excel, but you have to be clever. The parents shouldn't be shy to ask questions from the big ones or from whoever is around, because I think that's how you can move from 1 to 2, that you're just going after the people, you're asking questions, asking advices, and you have to have your common sense how to manage your child's future. But it is a very serious journey. If you want your child to become a chess player, then definitely it's a huge challenge. I don't know how is it in India for girls, but internationally I see that there are always different aspects. And what I'm always asking from parents, that whether you have a boy or girl, I mean, if you have a girl, don't limit their potentials. Don't believe if anybody says that chess is for boys. Chess is a game which we have a tradition that there are very few girls, but it doesn't mean that it's for boys. Just because we have this tradition, it's a fact, but it's not that you have to follow it, right? So I think there are a lot of girls who are talented, at least just as much as boys. But it is very important that the parents believe in them, and the coaches, they can treat them the same way as talented boys. Because this is my dream, that with time, whenever a coach sees a 7-year-old girl or a boy, they would react in the same way, and not saying that, oh, you're a very talented girl, you must be women's world champion, right? Because it's kind of in one hand, you want to support and encourage, but in other hand, you say it's like, okay, you will reach elementary school, fine. And if you say for a boy, okay, you're going to be a professor. Because to become a women's world champion, of course, you have to have great character, of competitive character, but still a women's world champion who is now Hui Fan or other world champions, they are reaching I think she's not in the top 100 right now, Yuan Ju, I think. But so it's a lower objective level, right? So I think it's very important for girls to be able mentally to have the mindset that they can perform as boys. But of course, everybody is an individual, so you have to aim to get the best out of yourself, and not comparing that whether it's a girl or a boy. I think simply you have to always have this inner drive and believe that I should get better.
True. I think very important from all what you said, I realized that the focus of the parents as a family and a coach should be everything related with chess, like whatever you said in the upbringing. It's all everybody's thinking all the time how to get better.
Of course, if you look at startup companies or whenever you see something new coming up and successful, you will always find that those people or those teams, they are really engaged with that topic or that thing 24 hours. And it's not painful for them because it simply keeps them busy, their mind. And I'm sure you met a lot of kids and, of course, stronger players. When they are walking, they're talking about some chess position. When they are having a great time drinking wine, they are just saying, do you know this study of whoever, right? So seems like it's as an interesting thing, but you will find that these are the things which are extremely important. That outside of the studying hours, how much your head is engaged with all these chess activities, chess positions. I remember when Anand was visiting us back in 1989, I think, beginning of 89. It was very clear. He always had a chess magazine or chess book in his hand, even when we were not playing blitz or talking or playing chess. So you will always find this with prodigies or kids who are really going to become very good. Usually they are very much engaged outside of the studying hours as well.
Wow, that's a very interesting point actually, which is I completely agree with you. It's all always in the mental space, the chess is going on, and yeah, it definitely makes a big difference. So, moving to the next question, I want to ask you that as a girl, you would have traveled alone many number of times, right? Am I right?
I was actually not traveling alone really to tournaments, to tell you the truth. I was for a long time when I was small, and we could go to festivals and tournaments where they had different groups, strength of groups. We were traveling together as a family. So Susan was playing in the highest group, and then Sophia and myself were playing in the lower groups. And then later on, when I became better and became number one in the world, and then I got extra other kind of invitations, then I was traveling with my mother most of the time, sometimes with my father joining me, or much later it was already that I was traveling with my future husband, and then he was joining me for tournaments. So actually I was, maybe I was playing a rapid event or something when I was traveling alone, but usually it's somebody was accompanying me.
Oh wow, that's very interesting because it's not very often, when you're playing tournaments, many times you need to. So it's
Yeah,
very
but
nice.
actually, of course, in case when you're a girl, it's also something, somehow it's more advisable that you go with a trainer, you're going with someone, the support. Unfortunately, it's a fact that simply it's much simpler for boys traveling. I remember Kramnik was traveling when he was 16, he was traveling all over the world alone, right? But for me, it's not only that I was small and then they were accompanying me, or later on, it simply gave me a lot of stability emotionally, that before the game we could go for a walk, and then you don't have to think, what to say. If you go with someone else, with another chess player, it doesn't make your brain tired. So when I was traveling with my mom, we were talking about flowers, we could talk about anything before the game. Or she knew exactly how I felt if I lost the game, I won a game. So she knew very much my emotional feedbacks, and she understood me very well, and I was very comfortable with her. So when it's a family member or someone who is very close to you, it can give a very special safety feeling and comfortable feeling. And when I play chess, I always needed great balance in everything, and this gave me a great balance generally.
Yeah, true. That's it. I also want to know that you used to play a lot of tournaments which required a great deal of stamina. So women are physically weaker than men, as we know. So how did you work on your physical fitness normally and during the tournaments? And what key role did it play in your life?
Generally speaking, I think, well, of course, ladies have, of course, a monthly situation, right? That we have. It is something I was never taking, something I was never focusing on. I was never discussing. I was never explaining people how it affected me, even if it did. I had bad days, I had good days, but I was always a person who was ignoring this towards outside the world, because I didn't want them to think that I'm having excuses for a bad result or whatever. But I think, I mean, for guys also, I mean, you can get sick, you can have a headache, you can have other things. So that's how I was taking it, that you have pluses and minuses. You have to be, of course, if you go on competitions, then you have to focus very much on your physical preparation, especially nowadays when you play a lot. And anyway, it's simply part of the preparation much more than it was before. So I was doing gymnastic in the hotel room, like an hour before breakfast or brunch, what I was usually doing. Also at home, I was doing sports at least 3-4 times a week. I was doing many different sports like aerobics, tennis, table tennis, kickboxing, later skiing. So I had all kind of things I was doing. And it was an important part, of course, to be able to sit there for 4 or 5 hours and to have your preparation before an hour and a half or two. You have to have some physical preparation. To be honest, I never believed in this, that just because we are physically weaker, it would mean any different. I think it depends on your potentials. It depends on your how much you have your character for as a fighter. How strong are you psychologically? How strong mentally in every way, and how much support you have. That is important because, of course, for girls, there are many comments done by others. And I think this is also important when someone is traveling with a girl. In that case, people are not going to make dubious comments on them, on their outlook or on their play or whatever, right? I mean, when a girl is with someone around, it's not so easy to criticize or give nasty comments on her.
While playing against men chess players, you didn't face any, disrespect or things like that, something which is more towards gender inequality, that kind of a thing?
Well, when I was a kid, I mean, I felt that people were looking at me like, okay, I mean, I will just beat you. If after that they lost, they left from the board, they were looking in a very nasty way or something. So they couldn't really handle it. They didn't have any similar experience, right? So it was kind of understandable. Of course, that time I didn't understand as a kid that why they're so unhappy or they behave strangely. But later on, I think people got to understand that I was talented and I was beating adults and even strong players. And by the time I was 17, 18, I think it was kind of they accepted me as one of the strong players, and after that I didn't have any problem from this aspect.
And coming to your husband, I want to ask that he's been a great support in your life. What would be his most important qualities which helped you sustain your career and also evolve as a person?
Well, first of all, he's a big sport fan. He was playing handball in the national level, kind of. He always followed sports, so his love for the sport, it was very important that he was joining me and supporting me from every aspect. He could understand the psychology of the game. He understood quite quickly and learned it, how the tournaments are happening, what's the difficult in a rapid tournament, what is difficult in a classical tournament.
Wow.
He learned it quite quickly that what are my habits, how do I prepare, when am I nervous, when what bothers me or didn't. So he was kind of very happy he did it by himself. I never asked him to give up partly his job. I mean, he was away for 2 weeks here and there. He's a vet because he was somehow interested in joining me, and he felt that he can support me by joining me, accompanying me for events. And actually it was very nice because he was very, very busy when we were at home. So he was working a lot, usually 7 days a week. And then when we were going away, he was kind of living also a more relaxed life, like reading books. Of course, reading books when I was playing, like 6 hours. So he was happy with that, but he had to adjust himself completely to my routine, right? That after the game we go to dinner, then we go to a walk, then I'm upset or I'm preparing. So when he wakes up, he should be quiet if I'm still sleeping. But somehow it worked very well. He was enjoying accompanying me to tournaments, and well, sometimes in the beginning for him it was difficult to understand some things, why I lost here and why I didn't win there. And he was, of course, always asking questions after the game, but why didn't you play this? And why didn't you play that? I didn't understand. So I was always patiently answering on the questions.
Oh, wow. So you could explain him those things. But as you said that it is very difficult for a person to immediately try to adjust to all these little habits and somehow to adjust quickly is for a life partner is very difficult. I have seen this issue in many of the couples when it is a new thing, new relationship. So it highly matters, and what I hear from you, it's so nice to understand. Also, I feel that he's been kind of it must be two parallel lives like feeling for him, right? Because as you said, on one hand he's completely busy when he's at home, and then when he's traveling with you, it's completely different life. So
Yeah, it must have been in some ways interesting for him, and it's like a double life, right? Because when we were in
yeah.
Hungary, I was at home having my training sessions, and he was very busy with his clinic. And when we were going away, he was not the doctor, but the wife of the husband of Judit Polgar, right? So it was a big contrast in this sense. But I think also the reason why he could adjust himself so easily, because his mentality regarding sports, and sport was always something priority in his family. This is why I think it was kind of obvious for him that he understood that whatever is needed in the chess competitions, then okay. And he was always following the other players, who played what, short draws, long draws, who is in what situation. He also remembered the games. Like if you would call him, you said, okay, how was my game against Anand, let's say, in our mini match in the rapid, then there is a good chance he will remember some of the games that that's the game.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And could you just tell a little bit more about where did you guys meet, and just in very short, if you can update us about your love story.
Well, actually, we met in Budapest in '98 when we had a Hungarian Vizsla, a hunter dog, and she was sick, and I took it to the doctor, and he was the doctor.
Oh, wow. Oh,
He was the
wow.
doctor, and then we started to meet, and then I went to '98. I went to Hawaii for the U.S. Open, and then we didn't see each other for a month or two, and then in the autumn we met again, and then in 2000 we got married.
Wow, that's a perfect Hollywood movie story, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a fairy tale kind of nice story.
Yeah, and so I want to tell you that in India we have a lot of arranged marriages. So to a woman who has a choice, what would you say as an important quality in a husband which she should definitely not consider giving a miss?
Well, I think it is it's very difficult to say. I think it depends very much, of course, on the culture, background, and in India, of course, we also hear that you have arranged marriages. But to tell you the truth, I'm completely having mixed feelings about this. That why shouldn't it work? I mean, it can work very well. It's just better if it's not a must, right? Because it's a lottery in life, even if you're looking for the right person. Of course, in Hungary, you would never think of having an arranged marriage, right? But still, in the background, people are trying to match people here and there. And well, the most important thing, I think, that you have the love for the other one, but also you have to have the same interest. I think it helps a lot. I mean, in our case, it was that sport is something was essential. Of course, you have to be ready to compromise all the time, right? It's a very strong journey what you have as a couple, and even when you find the right person in that point of your life, and actually for me, it was very clear that it was the best timing because my husband had a serious relationship before. I was kind of already somehow was very much open to have a serious relationship. So it was a good timing. And that is not to be underestimated, I think, generally. But once you have a great match, it doesn't mean that it will work forever, right? You always have to work. You always have to maintain. You have to work, invest in time, in energy, in attention, in so many ways that it should stay good and it should work. And of course, once you have kids, it's becoming also completely different. So.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like kids, it's generally a full stop there. In India, after kids is absolutely tough. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's really tough. So I want to understand your approach as an ambitious woman. your career would have definitely got affected because of it. So can you tell us more about it?
For me, it was a big challenge. How will it be when I have kids, and how can I be still competitive? And well, for me, it was not easy to get pregnant. Actually, I lost my first baby, and then it was 2002. After that, I got into the top 10 in the world, actually, and later on, I got pregnant with Oliver, and he was born in 2004. Of course, once you have kids, the priority is changing, because as a top sport person, obviously everything you do is kind of supporting your success, supporting the best you can perform when the tournament comes. Whether you do sport, whether you go to a movie theater, whether you go for excursion, whether you're having a spare time for something else, meeting with friends, it's always to disconnect, but then you go back to your chess to be focused on that. When you have a child, it's already not so obvious that it's only chess. But if you want to move on with your life and to be good still in your profession, whether you're a chess player or you do something else, I think the most important thing is that you have a partner who supports you in that and also takes care a little bit of the child, or you have a support from grandparents, babysitter, whoever, who you can make sure in your mind that, okay, I'm not with the kid, but everything is fine, so they are in good hands. And this we could manage, that I was not worried when I was going to competitions that I would think that, oh my God, it would be so much better if they are with me because they are not in safety or whatever. So, and one's life is much more rich by having kids, but it's also something not for everybody, I think. It's not an easy challenge to raise kids, I must say, but it can be very rich and very emotional and very interesting to raise children.
Yeah, it evolves you as a different kind of a person. Yeah, sure. What would be your most important advice to career-oriented women who do not want to get stagnant due to this biological process?
Well, I think it depends very much in what environment they are working in, and very much depends on the society, how they are reflecting on these things, right? Because I know quite a few ladies in Hungary who got a family with kids, and then it was kind of over with their career because they wanted to stay home for years. 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid, and then you can stay home in Hungary, and the government pays for actually years. But of course, after that, being 5 years away from your profession, you just cannot go back in a second, right? You have to study again, you have to reconnect again, and it's extremely difficult. But I think I also met other ladies who have their families, and after a few months after giving birth, they are back in business. Maybe not completely full time, but maybe only half time, or they are freelancers and they do something else. I think it very much depends on their mindset. What is their goal? Like if they really think that after children they want to get back, like you have Koneru there, like she had her baby and then she came back, right? And she plays extremely well. And I also believe that after having children, there are a lot of positive things happens, or it can happen a lot of positive things in your profession as well, because there are a lot of tension what you project on your career while you don't have family. It gives you a lot of tension. Once you have kids, first of all, you get extremely tired already from them. So many people, I remember myself also going to chess tournaments when Oliver was like half a year old. It was already paradise. It was kind of a vacation because I could sleep properly. I could have a breakfast properly, you know. So it was kind of, you challenge yourself a lot that when you're home, demanding a lot, the kids and the housework and other things that you're doing. And sometimes when you go to work, it's kind of so-called relaxation, even though if it's very challenging, the tournament itself, I think, and I spoke with many chess players as well after they had kids, they also felt something very similar. I remember talking with Vladimir Kramnik. He said, "Oh, I'm sleeping. It's wonderful." So I think there are a lot of positive energy comes also after having kids and when you go back to work. So it's not an easy thing to combine, but if you like your job, I think you can manage it.
Yeah, so we were saying that it's more than the patriarchal society affecting. I mean, the environment is one thing, definitely it has to be supportive, and the other thing is your strong will. This is what I understand. But if you have strong will and if you do not have that kind of environment, you need to definitely fight to create that kind of an environment. Because
yes, I think it's very difficult if you have your will, but you don't have the support by your partner and family and from your workplace. I think it is extremely difficult to get back to work.
Yeah. And before I ask the next question, one very important thing I have been wondering for many years. So the thing is that you have always played amongst men and have been successful. But it seems to me that you are one of a kind. Like, I believe many have tried and did not succeed anything even close to your level. So when I think of women playing in men, but without success, it is not practically possible to sustain the same level of motivation, I would say. Uh, so then otherwise we would have seen more than just one Judith, right? So the question is, why is there no second Judith?
It's a very complex question, I think. Of course, yeah, I mean, I just made an interview with Gary for the Global Chess Festival, which is going to be streamed on 10th of October. And I asked him, what does he think about gender questions? And he also said that, well, of course, you're special, and it was very clear that you're so talented. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I believe that, first of all, I was very fortunate growing up in a family that, being the youngest, having the support of my sisters. My parents believed in me from the very beginning. When I was born, they believed I'm going to be a chess champion. I was very much supported from every aspect. I have a very strong character, which suited very well for the competitions. It was also very helpful. I like challenges all the time. But I think one of the most important was that the expectations from my parents, it was the same as if I would be a boy. And I think this is one of the most important, which is not getting too much of a spotlight generally, that what the parents are expecting from a girl child. Because, and sometimes only very small thing. I think many people ask me that, for example, what do I see on my kids, whether, well, my daughter is dancing and my son is playing tennis and so on and so on. And I said, generally speaking, if I look back, when they were like 4 or 5 years old, I didn't see such a big difference in their personality. They were different, but I didn't see things that my daughter would be so girlish and my boy would be so boyish, that only cars and only these all kind of things, computers and stuff. And I believe that the society is so much forming us, even if you just go to the shop. If you go to the shop and the cashier lady sees that you have beautiful eyes, long hair, says, wow, you're so cute, right? Towards, if you see a boy, most of the time you don't say that you're so cute. You say, wow, you have such a clever eyes. How's school going? You must be very smart, right? And those very small things do make the girls being very girlish and boys being more directing on studies, because those are the feedback. Everybody is aiming to get a positive feedback, right? So if you get a positive feedback by having a beautiful hair or by having something nice, making a cake, or for a boy, if I made a great chess game and I solved something, or I'm good in math, then those are the directions they are going to go, because they want to get the positive feedback from the parents, from the coaches, from the cashier lady, from everybody, right? So I really have this belief that if we would expect girls to be clever and and be great in math and be great in science, then actually they would go that direction because that's where they can get the positive feedback. So it's kind of very tricky. And I still believe that there are many girls who could be potentially very strong, but there are a lot of things. It's not enough to work hard. It's not enough to be talented. I always say, and some people say that they are surprised that I'm saying this. For example, Hu Yifan was always a very talented chess player. I believe only by the fact, if in her family, for her, the aim would be not to become a woman world champion and playing only or mostly against ladies for quite a long time. But her aim would have been to reach the top 10 in the world, let's say, objectively. I think just by having the target, the goal bar on higher level, just by that would give her 30 rating points more, even if she would do everything the same amount of training, you know. But it's not the same. Of course, if you put your level high, it shouldn't be impossible. But the higher you put your goals, I mean, you're rushing in that direction. So actually, you're passing a lot of other levels, right? So this is my belief that simply when you demanding more, then you can reach more also, which does not mean that you shouldn't be happy with small results. Winning a game, winning a tournament, improving 5 rating points or whatever, that's fine. And you can even play in some ladies competition, but just go for the objective improvement in chess.
Wow, yeah, I think it's really eye-opening the way you explain in such a short time to me, because I have been wondering this really for a long time. And I definitely get your point and I agree with it. But there is one thing which I am still like, it feels like for the thing which you're suggesting, and let's say we do with the highest of the vision, which is definitely going to help the girls. But there will be a transition period. Let's say, I don't know, it will be a 20 or 30-year thing. As a parent or as a coach, as a support system, they will have to go through this phase of, not getting success for the girls. That I feel that would be really difficult to sustain, because the whole thing somewhere is formed by a society in this way, as you suggested. It's a thinking, it's a process, and it's not a small process to change it over the period.
No, of course. What are the expectations from the society and how the society supports and looks the success of a girl or success of a boy? That, of course, influences your comfort zone. Whether, as a girl, are you happy to play between boys? Are you really want to be the one who says that I want to be more than just playing with girls? But at the same time, if I know it correctly, in China, for example, the Chinese girls and guys, the national team, many times they train together.
Yeah.
So this is something which is exceptionally important, that the girls can also be there. They can ask questions from the guys. So it is also something very important, that who are you having the training with? And I think for the Chinese ladies team, generally speaking, I do think that it added quite a lot for the successes of the ladies.
So you think that there should be different titles? There should not be different titles for men and women, and different different national championships. What is your opinion, like, really about this?
I think for the moment, chess is not ready to delete the ladies' titles. Okay. It's simply a motivation for girls to reach those titles. But I mean, of course, if I would say my dream, I would say, of course, we should delete all the ladies' titles, and we should just motivate all the girls in order to reach those titles which we have in the absolute category. But I don't want to take away the motivation, and that so many girls are happy to play and happy to get the women titles, right? I just prefer to keep it for, and of course it's not my decision, but I mean, I understand that we have to keep it for quite a long time, but at the same time, I feel important to express my views to parents and coaches that They should not limit the children's or girls' mindset. They shouldn't damage or really cut their ideas to become really good. Because I know that many times that the children who are talented say, wow, I can really become women world champion. Oh, that's 2,600. That's fantastic. I mean, what is the chance of that you dream of being 2,600 and you're going to reach 2,800, right? Yeah. I mean, there is not much of a potential for that you're going to be reaching higher. So I think it's important to simply open up the mindset for parents, for teachers, and then whatever happens, happens. But at least to give the choice to the girls, whether you want to go and play with the boys or you want to keep yourself in the environment of the girls. It's already a huge step if we can open up the minds that let the child decide. Because there are many girls who would want to say that, okay, I just want to play chess and I don't mind if it's boys. So I think it's very important to give the choice. And then within years, we will see whether they want to go in that direction because it gives them a lot of positive feedback and results, or they want to stay with the girls' competitions.
Yeah. So you have been one hell of a fearless female chess player who has surpassed the ego of many of the men and is actually admired by most of them. Of course, no offense to the non-egoistic men though. So tell us how to be such an aggressive chess player and at the same time such a courageous woman in all the spheres of life.
Well, this environment, of course, which is obviously chess is a male-dominated sport. It was not difficult for me because I grew up as a child playing against adults, and then later on I was playing against professionals. And I was very much focusing on the game itself. So it was kind of such a natural environment for me. I was not playing between lady competitions, really. I was only playing in the Olympiad twice, which we won with Hungary. And so for me, it was that was the natural way of playing competitions.
Yeah. So I realized that your environment was really very supportive, and it impacted your life and your your character to such an extent that whatever you are. It's a very important part, which is, you can say, in a way it's related with the society or things like that, because the thinking in your family was very different as far as we can see that.
Well, it's very clear that without the support of my parents and later my sisters and this environment, I would not reach anything close to what I reached. Because it's also important that it's not only that my parents were supportive and created all the circumstances to be able to train, but it's also very important that the parents were supportive, that this is something important what I'm doing. Because I know in many countries or in many places, for example, in the US, I remember it was very clear that their parents were not supportive even for talented kids to become a professional chess player, because they said, no, you go to university first, and after that, if you have time to play chess, or after your degree, you can go to play to tournaments and be professional. That's already your decision. So I think this is also very important, that where is it standing that you're playing chess? Is it something, a secondary thing in your life? And if your parents are supporting it as, okay, fine, it's good for a hobby. It's you can be more serious than a hobby, but of course, priority is school. Once you have this, then most likely you're not going to reach your potentials, the maximum of your potentials. That's very clear. Especially in chess, you have to be young to experience a lot of things that it really goes under your skin.
Yeah, wow, very nice. So final question, which one decision you would say changed your life, or in hindsight, you would want to change that decision? So.
I don't know. Usually, to be honest, I'm a person who who lives in today. I like to live in the present. At the same time, I like to plan a lot of things, but I don't go back so much in my life. And also, I think because I have this idea that when you have difficulties and new circumstances, you can take it as a pain, but you can also take it as new opportunities open up. So that's how I take it. And most of the time, within a very short time, I see immediately how I can convert it into positive, to something interesting, or new challenges for myself.
Okay, thank you, Judith. That was a wonderful interview, and I really enjoyed talking with you.